Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Listen to me carefully, Kim. Your mother and I are going to be taken. And people are going to come for you, too.
Hello and welcome to this week's Monday Movie Show. Yes, we're on a Sunday, but there's a reason for that. Instead, Andrew actually getting to see a preview of Wild, which we'll review on next week's show. So that's the reason. That's the reason why we're on Sunday. And so I'm Stuart.
Yes, you're back, aren't you?
Yeah, my first show of 2015. Still got a bit of a dodgy voice, but at least people can hear me this week compared to if I did the show last week. And thank you so much for Nathan for standing in for us. You would not have heard me at all because I had no voice. Every single time I opened my mouth, nothing came out.
Makes a change.
Yeah, I think people probably would have been happy to actually hear that, me having no voice whatsoever.
You could probably do some impersonation or something. I'm trying to think, what's a character you can do? Someone's like... that'd be the voice.
Yeah, it's normally those kind of movies where somebody's ate something really spicy or there's like a ghost or whatever in a comedy fashion going, he's behind you, kind of thing.
Yeah. But you're Stuart and I'm Andrew.
Yeah.
I didn't say, sorry.
And we're looking at their films this week, not explaining my dodgy voice or the lack of voice or anything like that. On this week's show, we're looking at these films in the cinema section.
Yeah, Liam Neeson is back in Taken 3. We have the true life story about the wrestling teams and coaches to do with the Olympics in Foxcatcher. And we also have then a Disney adaptation of musical Into the Woods.
Yeah, and on Blu-ray and DVD, we're looking at these movies.
We have a drama starring Jesse Eisenberg in Night Moves. We have a fantastical sort of science fiction epic sort of thing in Lucy from Luc Besson. We have a horror film in Dead Snow 2. Then we have Nicole Kidman and Colin Firth starring in a mystery thriller Before I Go to Sleep, and ending with a German drama Wakolda.
Yeah, we have our usual things on top of that, which include TV Movie of the Week, Movie of the Weeks, and the box office and Blu-ray and DVD top 10, and some movie news. As usual, you can visit our website, mondaymovieshow.co.uk, and get us in contact with us in a multitude of ways. On Twitter at Monday Movie Show, on Facebook, facebook.com/Monday Movie Show, and email us, mondaymovieshow@yahoo.com. Plus, you can also find the show on... There's iTunes, there is YouTube, there is Podkicker, and probably some other places as well. Andrew might have snuck it there somewhere. I don't know. Maybe he's... Oh, iHeartRadio.
You're completely blank me now, No, I don't think so.
iHeartRadio is the other place where you can listen to us. So
yes,
you can catch us on there as well. So let's kick things off with movie news then, as we normally do.
Shall I go first?
Yes.
Yeah, because I actually have news this week. I have a news regarding a list of, a few dates that 20th Century Fox have now announced release dates for upcoming films. A few big ones, sort of a couple of big Marvel ones, one of which is Gambit, the X-Men spin-off, which is going to be starring Channing Tatum in the character title. The movie has been set for a release date finally of October 7th, 2016, so not so far off. We have the currently as yet untitled third Planet of the Apes movie. Presumably it will have a different title because obviously it started with Rise and then on to Dawn, and then we'll see whatever the next one is there. I'm guessing Battle of, or Battle of the Planet of the Apes, or something like that along those lines.
Fall of the Planet of the Apes, just to Rise, Fall, Dawn. It starts off with Rise, it goes to Dawn, then it goes to Fall of it, and then you need to get something to do with sort of like the sun going up and down, so something else, because rise and fall means them falling, so they're chopping and changing every film that way.
I don't think Sunset of the Planet of the Apes would work.
No. Sounds like a western.
But that's been set for July 14th, 2007. Previously it had been set a little bit earlier than that, but they moved it back a little bit now. Probably to give enough time so someone can sort it all out, because that was part of the issue why the director of Rise of the Planet of the Apes, whose name I've forgotten, the same person of Cloverfield, wasn't it?
Matthew Vaughn did one, and
no, it wasn't Matthew Vaughn did Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I forget
Dawn
his
of
name.
Drew
Goddard. Was it not Drew Goddard did?
No, Drew Goddard didn't do one of them. I'll find out.
Yeah, I'm getting completely messed up. But that's the second one, the second of the three I've got there. The other one I've got is Fantastic Four 2, which is an odd one because Fantastic Four hasn't even been released yet. It's coming out here in August this year, but they've set a second one already for June 2nd, 2017. That's the thing that I find a bit sort of befuddling. I'm surprised that they're pushing forward with that already, because the thing as well, Fantastic Four is coming out in half a year. We still haven't seen any footage yet, so I'm a little bit concerned about that. Also as well, there was the mention of Assassin's Creed, the adaptation of the Ubisoft video game, which has been set for December 21st 2016, but that keeps changing and keeps getting delayed and pushed back, and eventually I don't think it's even going to happen. So fingers crossed it will, because a lot of people who like Assassin's Creed will probably want to see that. But I don't think it's going to happen because it's been pushed off and delayed, and I don't even know if Michael Fassbender is still attached to it or not, and it keeps getting delayed and having problems.
Yeah,
Other piece of news. Sorry.
He has kept on saying that he is attached to it. Keeps on saying that, but he's a very busy actor anyway, so...
Yeah, I suspect that he will manage to do that, because come the time when it comes to filming, I expect he'll be busy with 2 other projects at the same time. Other piece of news I've got, which is similar, it's Universal announcing regarding the character of Jason Bourne. The sequel to that got a date that's been changed slightly. Now, originally the thing with this is they were going to do a sequel with the Jeremy Renner character, which was Aaron Cross, which was in the Bourne Legacy, the last Bourne film that was made, which was essentially a spin-off. That idea has now been sort of put on the back burner, and instead Matt Damon is returning with director Paul Greengrass. The two of them are going to return to that character. The film was going to be on July 15th 2016, but it's now been pushed back to July 29th 2016. And there's been sort of notes and stuff and things sort of said, claims made that the characters will not cross over, so you will not see Jeremy Renner's character make an appearance with the Matt Damon character in the next film.
I still stand by what I have with the Bourne series regarding Matt Damon. I think they finished it off with the Bourne Ultimatum, and that's where it should have ended. They passed the torch on to Jeremy Renner with the Bourne Legacy. They should have just stuck with that route instead. And I didn't much like the Bourne Legacy compared to the Bourne trilogy from Greengrass, which Greengrass was involved with. He wasn't involved with it all, but he was involved with...
He didn't do the first one. The first one was Doug Liman, yeah.
Yeah, so I was... it finished perfectly there. It wrapped up fine. And so it was nice to actually see a start. And there was some decent building blocks with Aaron Cross's character with the Bourne Legacy, and they could have followed it much better with a sequel. A new Bourne film with Paul Greengrass, Matt Damon, I'm not too sure.
Well, I mean, I kind of look forward to it, and the thing is, I agree with you that the 3 Bourne films were good, sort of enclosed their own little thing, but I did like that when Bourne Ultimate came out, it expanded that universe, and all of a sudden there were all these opportunities and things, and I'm pretty sure that's the reason why because it was Tony Gilroy who had written the previous 3 films, or been involved in. I'm not sure if he was involved in the first one, but he was heavily involved in writing the other 2, and then he was allowed to write and direct Legacy. And I think the reason he was allowed to write and direct it is because of the fact that first of all, it allowed them to continue the Bourne name, but secondly, I think they realised that it opened up the universe and then left possibilities for ways for them to bring back Matt Damon and Paul Greengrass, because the two of them said after the 3rd film they weren't going to come back because of the fact that they didn't see a reason how the character could come back or why the character would come back. I think now, after the Bourne Legacy, there are those possibilities there for the character.
I still would have preferred them sticking the Bourne Legacy route. They've opened up their world to make it more expansive so they can bring in more new characters, hence the Bourne Legacy, because Aaron Cross wasn't mentioned in the first 3 Bourne films, and so that was the reason why it was opened up, to be able to do that, not to be able to bring back Matt Damon's character, Jason Bourne. So it was just going on by name. It was passing the torch, and I think that they should have stuck that way. My news is the BAFTAs were announced earlier on during the week. It's award season. We've got the BAFTAs, the Golden Globes, the Oscars, a multitude of other awards folded into that, including my favourite, the Razzies, which normally happen just before the Oscars. But the nominations for BAFTAs, just looking over a couple of the few main ones. Best film was Birdman, Boyhood, The Grand Budapest Hotel, The Imitation Game, and The Theory of Everything.
I'm quite pleased with all those options, although I think there are things missing, like Mr. Turner, for example. Is a film that should have been there, at least nomination, because it is a great film, and I think as well, looking over the whole thing of the BAFTAs, that's one of the films that's been sorely missed off in a lot of categories. It's been very kind of left on the floor, possibly just out of numbers, but it's a shame, really.
Yeah, it is a strong list. That the thing is, putting you on the spot, which one do you think will win out of that list? Because we both have seen all 5 of those. It's rare that as well.
It is. I mean, I do love the Grand Budapest Hotel. I just finally recently got it on Blu-ray myself and watched it a couple of times since getting it.
It's hard, isn't it?
It is. I mean, they all have their qualities. It's just a case of...
See, the way I look at it is, if you look at the outstanding British film category, you've got 71, The Imitation Game, Paddington, Pride, The Theory of Everything, and Under the Skin. And so I think I'm looking at both of them, and I would instantly rule out The Theory of Everything because I think it'll win Outstanding British Film. And so it would be a bit of a shame if it won Best Film and Outstanding British Film as well.
Yeah, I can see what you mean about Theory of Everything. I would probably say that's not the one I would think would win it. As much as I think it is a very good film, I think that it's not necessarily quite the level of the other ones. Birdman as well, because out of the two of them, so last week I struggled between the two of them as to which one I preferred, and they're both brilliant, both very well done, and both quite emotional and have great performances in them. Birdman is a lot more technically, I think, proficient than Theory of Everything. So yeah, I really would struggle to just say one of them now. I mean, as much as I would love to say one, I think whichever one I pick is going to be the wrong one.
Yeah, I personally, my personal preference would be Boyhood, but I think it'll probably will go down to The Theory of Everything, in my opinion, the way it'll fall. Best Director, Alejandro González Iñárritu for Birdman, Richard Linklater for Boyhood, Wes Anderson, The Grand Budapest Hotel, James Marsh for The Theory of Everything, and Damien Chazelle for Whiplash.
I think that this is going to come down to 3 of them. I think it's going to come down to Boyhood, Birdman, and Whiplash, which is out next week, but I have seen. Mm-hmm. So, because Whiplash is a very, very good drama and really did surprise me. And I said after I'd seen it originally, this is one of those things that I had. Every now and again, I get films that come out and I'm thinking, oh, I really want to see that. It looks great. I'm really looking forward to that. And then I see the film, generally, it disappoints. It doesn't live up to the expectations. Whiplash is one of the ones that did live up to the expectations and bettered them and completely blew me away. So I would love for Whiplash to win that. I think Birdman will, purely on it being technically brilliantly directed.
It's hard. I would go again with Boyhood because of what Richard Linklater.
Yeah, I absolutely love that film. I know so.
Leading actor Benedict Cumberbatch, The Imitation Game, Eddie Redmayne for The Theory of Everything, Jake Gyllenhaal, Nightcrawler, Michael Keaton, Birdman, and Ralph Fiennes for The Grand Budapest Hotel.
Now,
that's horrible. That is really hard.
Being British, though, I think it's going to be Eddie Redmayne. I would have said, up until seeing Theory of Everything, I would have said Benedict Cumberbatch, but I think Eddie Redmayne did a better job. And
Jake Gyllenhaal is amazing in Nightcrawler.
He is, but given that this is the BAFTAs and that is an American film and American actor, I think that it will get a bit sort of... They will pick British ones out of... Considering they're mostly all British, I think it'll be British one will win out than them because of the fact of that it's especially being British. Both Alan Turing and
Stephen Hawking.
Stephen Hawking, yes, thank you. Being British people, of history, important British people of history, I think those two will be the big front runners.
What I find interesting is if you look at the supporting actor, Edward Norton for Birdman, Ethan Hawke for Boyhood, J.K. Simmons for Whiplash. So there is no mention in leading actor for Miles Teller for Whiplash. But the other two, Mark Ruffalo for Foxcatcher and Steve Carell for Foxcatcher. Channing Tatum?
He's good in it, but again, he is, though...
Yeah, but the whole film is about his character.
Yeah.
So how comes he's not in leading actor or supporting actor then over Mark Ruffalo?
Because there are too many great leading actor roles out there.
But considering that
they need to have about double as many lead characters. Because of the fact of as much as he may be the lead character, and he was a good performance in it, he is not better than the other ones that were already nominated, and the 5 that were nominated in the other film, in the ones we have there. But for supporting actors, there were not a large number of great supporting roles in films. But Foxcatcher had 2 great ones with Mark Ruffalo and Steve Carell.
I don't think they should have took 2 actors from one film and put it in there over a third one, because there is three actors there, 3 main ones, considering the film is all about Tatum's character. Steve Carell, you can even argue the fact that even Steve Carell's character is the lead in that film. It's really difficult to pick and choose. I was thinking that while watching it, which one is the lead one, even though the film is about Tatum's character.
Channing Tatum's. Well, I mean, we'll get to this when we go through Foxcatcher, but I think it is Channing Tatum's because it follows his character.
Yeah, but it's just annoying that he's just thrown out there. But you can find the list anywhere. It's on multiple sites. It's not on our site because, like I said, I was not feeling very well during the week, so I had no time to do anything apart from cough a lot and moan. Other news I've got, just quickly go over this, is The Hollywood Reporter has revealed that Melissa McCarthy is in talks to play the lead role in Paul Feig's all-female Ghostbusters.
Why? I'm not even a fan of Ghostbusters, but I know that you and Mark and everyone else following the nerds are particularly not happy about this.
Oh God, no.
I can understand why.
Yeah, Melissa McCarthy in a film. People know what I feel about her, but the fact that the route that he's going down, he's saying that they're going to make it dark, he's going to appease the fans of the series and all this stuff. By the sounds of it, he's not going to do that at all.
It sounds like he hasn't even seen the Ghostbusters films.
Yeah, he doesn't know what they are. And the other news story is Deadline has reported that Michael Keaton has joined the cast of Kong Skull Island. The actor will join J.K. Simmons and Tom Hiddleston on the film.
I mean, I'm great about this. J.K. Simmons is the thing I like about this, and with Whiplash, J.K. Simmons is now becoming a lot more recognised in cinemas, in films, because he's done a lot of television, but he's still also done a lot of films and smaller roles, and he is brilliant. If you go back and look at his career over the last 10 years, he's still done lots of roles in films, and you don't realise that it's him. I mean, if you look back at the original Spider-Man ones, Sam Raimi's ones, he is J. Jonah Jameson. Even so much so that when a friend of mine was over and hadn't seen the second new Spider-Man film, and we watched it, there's a point in it when Peter Parker sends an email to J. Jonah Jameson saying, Peter, I think Spider-Man's trying to help, and the reply back he gets back is just in capital letters, wrong, with capital, explanations, and you just hear J.K. Simmons reading it because he's just perfect in that role. It just fits him, and he's that kind of an actor. He's brilliant. He sticks with you.
Yeah, I've got to watch Whiplash. I'll have seen it by time we record next week's show. UK box office top 10 then.
Yep, starting at number 10 with Penguins of Madagascar.
Yeah, I've had to catch up on a lot of films because for some reason I don't go to the cinema over Christmas. I think it's probably down to the fact that I know that the cinema is going to be packed, so it's going to be impossible to sit down and enjoy a film. So I never go to the cinema over Christmas. So I've caught up on a lot of films. There's only 2 films in the top 10 that I've not seen. This is one of them that I've seen, and it's fine. It's entertaining enough. The animation is decent enough. It's got some really funny, witty jokes in it. I love the play on words when the bad guy is shouting towards his minions and their actors' names. Yeah, I quite like that, and it's witty at times. It flows pretty well. It's not up there with the third Madagascar film, but for a spin-off movie, you probably would expect this is going to be in horrible territory. You look at Cars and the Plane series. Let's not look at that. But yeah, it's fine. It's entertaining.
At number 9 is Dumb and Dumber 2.
Yeah, that cannot be said about Dumb and Dumber 2. Dumb and Dumber 2, Dumb and Dumberer ruined Dumb and Dumber for me. Because Dumb and Dumberer was an awful, awful movie, and I completely forgot that movie. And then I saw Dumb and Dumber 2. This is horrible to try and say these names. And I just felt, what were you doing? What was the point of coming back 20 years later just to make the same film? It is just a remake of the first film, just not as funny, because they've grown older and they're doing the same moronic jokes as before. They got away with it in their younger state. They don't get away with it in this state. It didn't make me laugh at all. It made me cringe.
It did the same for me, and even at parts it felt as if it was more of a spoof than trying to be the funny comedy of the first one with the characters. It felt as if the actors were just trying to lampoon it, which is what it just didn't work at all.
Yeah.
At number 8 is the remake of Annie.
Yeah, the sun should never have came out for this one. Remakes are pointless. You know how we feel about remakes, well, especially me about remakes. And the original Annie is an entertaining family film. It's got some really good acting in it, and the singing, the vocals are very strong in the film. With this one, it's under the guise of Will Smith. And what he's done, he's actually Broadwayed Annie. I know Annie is based off a Broadway musical, but he's sort of like done a reverse thing and took it back to Broadway and make it very Americanized. He's brought it up to date as well. And Coventia Wallace, who's the lead actress in this one, who takes over the role as Annie, she's got a decent enough voice, but not a strong enough voice. Jamie Foxx is supposedly the lead role in it. He's the Daddy Warbucks of the film, and it doesn't work at all. Everything feels shoehorned in there. The songs are a bit pointless, they're a bit boring. It just plods along, and it just doesn't bring a smile on your face like the original Annie did.
At number 7 is a new entry for Birdman.
Yeah, I've only just recently seen this, and what a strange movie it is. It's I really liked it. I really definitely did like it. Michael Keaton just smacks it out of the park in this thing. The only thing that got on my nerves, now I don't know what you felt of it because I didn't listen to your review of it last week. The only thing that got on my nerves is the jazz score. The jazz musical score, the way the drums were done and things like that. I know it's probably relying on his fractured inner being in the film itself. It's showing that he is getting ready to snap, he is getting ready to break, and that's what that over-the-top jazz music's like. But it grated so much on me. I was just going, stop it, I'm trying to hear what they're saying. Because at times the music was overpowering what the actors were actually doing on screen, and you want to just watch what they're doing on screen because everybody in the film is giving it their all. They're having a lot of fun with the characters that they're giving it. You can see that it's very dark with its humour, but it works so well because it just the flow and the way they actually bring their characters around. It's just the music annoyed me.
I didn't have a problem with that because the thing I found with that, and I think what they were trying to do is because of it whole being centering around it being a stage play that they're doing and giving it that feel of being like sort of a stage play that's been made to film because of the way it's shot with the as much as it's all different takes, it's edited together to try and make it look like one take. And I think that adds to this sort of surreal realism to it that gives it this feel like it's on a stage somewhere that it's limited by what you can do in real time music, not what you can do in a studio somewhere. So I think that worked for me. I quite like that sort of choice of doing that with the music.
The film itself, a good analogy there when it comes to the film itself. It feels like it is on stage, but it's breaking the fourth walls and pushing itself out from the stage itself to bring you all the fantastical elements. When you do see the mechanical bird character and him fighting against it and him thinking that he can fly, I love that stuff. It's strange, but it works.
Yeah, it does. Number 6 is Exodus Gods and Kings, which I know you haven't seen, so I'll quickly go over that. Basically, it is Ridley Scott. You know it's Ridley Scott because you can tell from everything in it that seems as if it's kind of him revisiting elements from his previous films, in particular things like Gladiator and such. I'm not surprised that if he had been trying to get Russell Crowe cast in this instead of Christian Bale, but then realised that Russell Crowe had already played Noah, so probably not a good idea to have him play Moses as well in the same sort of year and a half. And the thing is, it's not bad, but it just really just feels like he's taken elements from his previous movies, put them in a blender, and put it on to cook for 2.5 hours, which is too long. What are you doing?
I'm getting a sweet because I'm going to cough all the way through the night, so I'm trying to get something to stop me from coughing.
You see this cracking noise. I'm like, what's going on there? Okay, moving on to number 5 then, Night at the Museum, Secret of the Tomb.
Which I've yet to see. I haven't actually sat down and watched an entirety of the Night of the Museum film.
Well, the thing is, that's the thing. I have the first 2, I'll admit it. They're not brilliant, but they're movies that I found a quality to them that kind of reminded me of films I watched when I was a kid. And they're fun films, and I like them. I don't love them, but I enjoy them. And this was kind of a suitable ending. It felt really nice. It had a sort of a bittersweet element to it, obviously, with Robin Williams. But it was nice sort of to come back and go through it all once again. And then it ended with a moment, and it did at one point almost bring a tear to my eye, and kind of like a end of a thing. That's it, goodbye. And I enjoyed it. I didn't love it. Again, as I said, I liked it. The audience certainly were enjoying themselves. I saw it in a quite packed out screen, and that was a week after it came out. And the thing with it is that it seemed to do what it needed to do for the audience. It made them laugh, it made them have fun, it kept kids entertained, and it was a good hour and 40 minutes entertainment. Number 4, new entry for The Woman in Black, Angel of Death.
Yeah, it's a bit of a damn squib. Considering the first film, I thought the first film was average, and then I watched it a second time and quite enjoyed it more. So it's down to the performance of Daniel Radcliffe with The Woman in Black, Angel of Death. Now, who reviewed it last week?
It was Nathan that reviewed it, because you were to do it, but I haven't seen it, and I still haven't seen it. I haven't seen the first one yet.
I honestly didn't listen to last week's show. Shame on me. But what did he think of it? Can you remember?
He didn't think it worked really because of the fact that it was. Trying, if I remember rightly, he was trying. It was trying to be sort of the same, but not, because of the fact that it was trying to do the same thing, but it doesn't have Daniel Radcliffe there at the centre of it. It doesn't have anything there to sort of hold it together. Yeah,
and he's hit the nail on the head. It's got the setting of the first film itself. That house is dilapidated and dark and brooding, and every corner you expect something bad to happen, and that's foreboding, and it works well in movies like this. And so we know the setting already because of the first film, and so any new nuances that it brings into in the second film, it just doesn't work because we know what's going to happen. We know every heartbeat, so it fails on the creepiness, and it relies too heavily on the typical we'll have a hand on the shoulder kind of scares, but just doesn't scare you. There was a few people on the screening that I went to see of this film which did jump and did screech a little bit, but it was just the typical thing to expect. It just didn't work, and it didn't build on what was a really good first film, and it should have.
And number 3, still hanging in there, is Paddington.
Yeah, 30 million so far. Yikes. Pathia have done probably is really happy with what they've done with Paddington, not Studio Canal. One of them two.
I think it's Studio Canal, actually.
Yeah,
That's
Studio.
Fox.
Yeah, it is Studio Canal. They'll be happy anyway because they took over the film. I think it was Universal who was originally going to release it and then dropped it, and then Studio Canal picked it up, and it's their most expensive film that they've released, and it's worked out for them because it is an entertaining family film.
Yep. Number 2 is The Hobbit: Battle of the Five Armies.
Have I actually said what I thought about The Hobbit? Have we done a show where I'm able to see it?
I don't think you have, because it was before. It was. I mean, I reviewed it for Christmas releases, but I think you said about it briefly.
Yeah, The Hobbit.
Say what you think then.
Hobbit: The Battle of the Five Armies is just it's a typical way of ending off a really boring trilogy, to be honest. I'm not much of a fan of the Hobbit trilogy, which annoys me because I love the Lord of the Rings films, and it definitely proves that it should have just been either 2 films or one long 3.5 hour movie rather than 3 2.5 hour films, because it was just boring, to be honest. None of the set pieces actually worked for me. None of the characters were entertaining, and Billy Connolly as a dwarf, a CGI dwarf. Yeah, I'm just glad to see that the series has ended.
or has it?
It's just the Cimmerillion, isn't it, or what's left?
Yeah, I'm not sure what's left exactly, but there's talk of it. So that means that there is a new number 1 entry at number 1 is The Theory of Everything.
Yeah, which you reviewed it last week, and I'm guessing that you really liked the film.
I did.
I did as well. I really, really liked the film. I thought Eddie Redmayne as Stephen Hawkins was fantastic. What he actually did to prepare for the part of Stephen Hawkins is miraculous. Going through all that training and contorting your body the way he is and keeping in character all the way throughout the film. Felicity Jones is also fantastic in the movie. It has a few little problems with the way it's cut together, but ultimately it's trying to tug on people's hearts and show people the true story of Hawkins, and it works.
Yeah, I agree. It's brilliantly done. As I said earlier with the BAFTA nominations, Eddie Redmayne, who has not been in a lot of films. The only thing I can think of, big thing that he's been in, a couple of things. I mean, Les Mis, and there was something else that Nathan pointed out to me last week I hadn't realised was him as well that he's in. And I think he's in the upcoming Wachowski's film, isn't he, as well?
Yeah.
Jupiter
I'm
Ascending.
sorry. Yeah, I'm coughing my eyeballs out here. I'm having to mute the mic every single time I'm doing it, and I'm just trying to get my voice back. But yeah, he's in Jupiter Ascending. He was also in Black Death as well, and a few other little films here and there. He has that look to him, doesn't he? He has that interesting look.
He has that kind of illness, something wrong look to him. Not in a bad way, but it's you know, he could quite easily pass for playing a role of a character who's not well.
Yeah, and he looks.
That sounds really badly to say it that way, but that's kind of how I think it works for him.
And he scarily looked a lot like Stephen Hawkins in his young age, so that they got the casting really well with Eddie Redmayne. He was also in Les Miserables, wasn't he, as well?
Yeah, that was it. But there was something else. I can't remember what it is. I'm going to have to look it up. But he was in something else, and Nathan pointed that out to me, and I was like, really? And then I realised it was, and it shows you how kind of he disappears into roles. But it's good that he's getting that recognition now.
Yep. Right. While I cough my eyeballs out, having to mute the mic multiple times, because probably by the end of this show I'm going to have no voice again, killing it, we'll kick off with a review which, Andrew, you can take over.
Taken 3, which sees the return of Liam Neeson as Brian Mills, who is an ex-operative of some sort. We never really find out for sure, but in the first film we had him coming out of sort of his normal life and having to use his particular set of skills that he has to recover his daughter who'd been kidnapped in France and was being sort of sold in the black market, and he then ends up doing that. Second one, it's him and his ex-wife Lenore, played by Famke Janssen, are kidnapped, and he has to then sort of rescue himself and her, while also his daughter Kim, played by it is Maggie Grace, who is sort of helping him there. This time around, we have a slight difference of things. There is a sort of a setup to things happening. Lenny, it turns out, this isn't a spoiler, it's early on, it's in the trailer. Lenny is found murdered, dead in Brian's apartment, found dead in his bed. He is then sort of turns up, finds her there. Police turn up responding to calls that she's sort of hearing screams of a woman saying, he's killing me, and he ends up, instead of going in willingly, defeating the police officers that are there and going on the run, ultimately being sort of chased eventually by a task force led by a police officer played by Forrest Whitaker, who he ends up calling to tell him sort of, this is what happened, this is how it is. Here's a clip.
Watson, by now I'm sure you know who I am. You know what I'm capable of.
I am beginning to. Let me ask you something just so I'm clear. CIA operative, Division 6, Division 7, what?
All you have to know is I'm innocent. If you give me 2 days, I can prove it. I can find out who did it.
You may very well be innocent, Mr. Mills, but that's the court's job to decide. It's not mine. My job is to bring you in and let the law take its course. That's it.
Good luck.
So then, of course, you have him doing paraphrasing the the good luck that was said to him by the kidnappers in the first film, which actually got a little bit of a laugh in the cinema. This is the thing, I saw it in a packed out cinema. It was literally packed out, and you could tell the audience were enjoying it, but still there were problems with it. And the thing is, the Taken 1, which was a sort of surprise sleeper hit, it was a word of mouth thing, came out, small film. It was released with I think it was a 15 certificate in the cinema, I might be wrong on that, and then when it came out on video they released the uncut version, gave it an 18. Second one, when they made it, they went, oh, this is, the first one did really, really well. We want to really, really make loads of money on it. So what they do, they edited it down to be a 12 for the cinema and stripped it of bits and pieces. And obviously you can see it edited, and it kind of made little jumps and cuts here where they've been editing out things so it could get from a 15 cinema release to a 12A cinema release. Then when it was released on DVD and Blu-ray, it was 15 and the uncut version. And that's what they've done here again. They have edited it down, butchered it in parts to a 12, so much so that there's things in it there's moments in it where people are shot and you see them actually bare top, skin, and there's no blood. There's just these red dots like where they've been shot and no blood coming out anywhere. And it actually got laughs from people in the cinema going how badly it was done for things like that. There's this storyline in it. The thing is that's really annoying is there's plotting and story and things going on in this that are better than have been in some other films that came out in the last couple of years. And that's the thing that's really annoying, because there's actually an attempt to do a story and give a reason. It's not just a thing of something happens and the guy ends up going, oh, got this, action, action, action. Although there are elements of it that have, go into an action bit, do this, quiet little talky bit, action bit, do that. But the thing is that it feels like a film that's been butchered and stripped down. It feels like a film that's almost on fast forward through most parts of it, where you've got little quick cuts. I mean, Michael Bay's rapid editing style has nothing on this. The editing in this, literally, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you've ever heard of a thing called the average median shot. It's a thing where you have over the whole film the average length of each shot from the edit. So you have, each time you cut, that's another one, cut another one, and then to take the average of all of them. I would not be surprised to find out that the average median shot in Taken 3 would be less than any of the lowest number of Michael Bay's ones. In which, this is edited heavily, cut, quick, and so much so that you almost get a headache. You don't know what's going on, and it's a shame because I wanted this to be better, and I like it more than I like 2, but that's only because 2 is absolutely terrible. It's not anywhere near as good as the first one. It does try and do something different, and it does do something different. It's nice to have this whole thing of having a police chasing him with Forrest Whitaker's character. It adds a new element to it. But if you're going to edit it like this and film it like this and have shaky cam that's going to give Paul Greengrass a run for his money, then I don't want to see it because it's awful, and it's just going to end up with me walking out the cinema and being sick because I've got a migraine.
From what I've heard, nobody gets taken in this film, so why is it called Taken 3?
Well, I took that as being that in all of the films, something is taken from the character of Brian Mills. So you have the first one, his daughter's taken. Second one, he is, and his wife's taken, or his ex-wife is taken. And the third one, she is taken, her life is taken. So I didn't have a problem with that. I thought, okay, yeah, something's taken, it's her life's taken. As I said, that's not a spoiler, it's in the trailer and it's in the first 15 minutes of the film. So, it sets up the things for the character and what's going to happen, and I didn't mind that. I thought, yeah, okay, it's got more to do with the title than the third Hangover movie and the story of what that's got about, and
yeah,
so it's put it this way, let me say that actually it's better than Hangover 3.
Well, practically anything could be better than The Hangover 3, so that's a given. I'm probably going to say it's going to be better than The Hangover 3, because I've not seen Taken 3 yet, but I'm probably even going to say that, considering I hated the Hangover series, and I like at least one of the Taken films, so...
Yeah, it's not anywhere near as good as... It doesn't even deserve to be, honestly, called Taken after the first Taken film. But it's obviously a sequel by title, and that's it.
Yeah, does he actually care about his character anymore? It seemed to be like he lost patience or lost any kind of attachment to his character in the second one. Is that still the same with the third one, that it just feels like Liam Neeson is just playing it for the money?
Well, no, No, there is a little bit more to it in this. There's moments in it where you actually do kind of care for the character, but you still don't kind of care for it any more than you should. And it doesn't work.
It's a pity, isn't it, considering that the first one is a bit of a cult classic and a lot of people are probably expecting more. It's annoying. It's annoying though when they've got something that's got a lot of action and it's down to the violence that they cut it so much to make it a 12-year just so they can get more people to see it. So at least stick to your guns and release it as a 15. You're still going to get big audiences, because if you look at horror films that are rated 15, you still get quite packed cinemas going to see it because they're there for the scares, they're there for the gore. And so with action films, if you've got it at 15, you're going to expect big action set pieces, and it's going to be more violent than what you would normally expect from a 12-year. So you're still going to get big audiences. Don't just relent.
Problem is, though, that this, I expect, as much as there will be an uncut version when it comes out on cinema and on DVD and Blu-ray, and I know it will, from having seen it, it's still going to suffer from the fact of that you can see when they've been making it, not after they've filmed it and edited it, you can see that they've made it and they're going, oh, we think we're going to get a 12A out of this, and then it comes to editing and then they're going, oh no, we need to cut extra more bits out of it to make it a 12A. So it's not that it's a film that's been made for the 15 market and then cut down to get 12. It's a film that's been made for the 12A market, been unsuccessful at getting the 12A, and then been edited down more at the cinema to get the 12A.
It's sort of like one of those game shows where you take away the prize and then they'll go, here's what you could have won. It's revealing it behind the curtain. Here's what you could have watched.
That's the best thing, actually. It should be taken. You know how they've got Birdman, or I can't remember what it's called, the full title, or the something. This should be taken, or what you could have won.
Yeah, exactly. Right, Foxcatcher. It is awards season, so we're getting these big, huge, massive films, and so Foxcatcher is the awards noteworthy film of the week. It's based on true events, centering around a wrestler in the form of Mark Schultz, who Mark Schultz has actually come out and condemned the film a little bit. He says the portrayal by Channing Tatum in the film is a bit loose and not exactly what went on. So it centres around Mark Schultz and the fact that he meets up with this eccentric billionaire in the form of John DuPont, who wants to create a huge, massive wrestling team to take them to the 1988 Olympics and beat them, get gold medals, etc. And so it just centres around how Schultz has become involved with DuPont's character and how much he looks up at DuPont's character, the fact that he sees him as a father figure more so the more he gets to know him, rather than somebody who's out there to train him. He treats him like a brother. DuPont actually wants everybody in Foxcatcher to treat him like a father figure, to treat him like a brother, to treat them like a mentor rather than just a straightforward person. And so he becomes really attached, so much so that it starts to break up his life a little bit. He needs the help from his brother, who's played by Mark Ruffalo, who plays David Schultz, who's also an ex-wrestler and now more so a coach. And so he gets brought in to help them out, and you start to see little bits unravel and things start to fracture. DuPont with his mother, for example, the fact that he just does all of this stuff so he gets approval from his mother. But it's just the main relationship between Schultz and DuPont that is the central crux of the film itself. Here's a clip.
Mark, you have been living in your brother's shadow your entire life. It's time. It's your time now.
I know what you mean.
Do you?
Because everything that I've done, I feel like has somehow been credited to Dave. And, I feel that it's time for me to distance myself from him. Become my own person.
So the ultimate question is it any good? The simple answer there is yes. It is really that good. It is one of those films where you get a bit skeptical when you hear or see reviews of a movie like this and critics going, it's 5 stars, it's the best film of the year, it's blah-de-blah-de-blah, because it is awards season. And so you're probably expecting that. And last year, when me and Andrew was watching films that was leading up to the Oscars, I would say, for me anyway, at least 8 times out of 10, I was being disappointed with these movies that were touted to be these big films that has got some fantastic acting to it, it's got some fantastic story to it, and the way it's actually constructed is definitely awards worthy. I was watching them and thinking, that's not the case. Whereas this year we seem to be getting a crop of very, very strong movies. You heard our thoughts about going over the BAFTAs and how difficult it was to choose a few films in specific categories. And Foxcatcher, it is down to the triangle trio of Steve Carell, Channing Tatum and Mark Ruffalo. Each one of them brings so much to the characters that they're given. I would say more so with Steve Carell, because he's a person you expect maybe to burst out with a sarcastic quip or a joke or something like that, considering that the prosthesis that he's got on with the false teeth and the big pointy nose, he does look a lot like the child catcher from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. And so you expect him to run on screen and run off with a child or throw a pie into somebody's face. But that never happens. You never get any humour from him. He's a very stoic character. He's a very sort of like recluse character. He's somebody who's constantly seeking his mother's approval. So he's very much like Norman Bates from Psycho in that instance. There's something dark and brooding that's happening inside of him, and he's just about ready to release it. And when he does, you know you're going to get something malevolent. And that's always the case when you see his character on the screen. Channing Tatum, he plays Mark Schultz really well. You heard in that clip there, he doesn't say very much. And his character doesn't need to say very much because it's down to the actions that he does. The fact that he's got a very self-destructive personality. He's a very yes person, following a lot of what people say. But again, you know that something is going to flip in him, that he's going to break somehow, or something's going to crack his persona and he's going to reveal his true self. And that happens in the film. And so it's all anchored down by Mark Ruffalo's character. He needs to be the strong one out of them. He needs to be the one, the straightforward one, who needs to stick by his guns, who doesn't look like anything could change his personality in the film. And that is the case. And so it is a triangle that they need each person to actually keep that triangle together, and it works very well. There is a few little problems here and there, but because of the acting is so strong and the story is so strong, you completely forget about the problems and just realise this is a movie that definitely deserves the praise that it's been getting.
I agree, it's been getting the praise that it deserves for things like acting. I don't think it's the best out of all these films that have been, because of the way the film is handled. I think it does have some narrative issues. I think that it is it takes its time unnecessarily with some scenes and some things I think could have been taken out altogether. That's not to say it's a bad film, because it's not. It is a very, very good film. It does base itself largely on these great 3 performances in it of Channing Tatum, Steve Carell and Mark Ruffalo, who are all fantastic in it. I think there's things though as well. I mean, you've got this a role played by Sienna Miller, who plays the wife of Mark Ruffalo's character, who it really just feels as if, as much as she's not an important part of it, she's an important part of one of the characters' lives, and I really wanted more shown of that. It really felt very much like it was thrown, sort of, her character was left on the wayside. And that there could have been more with her character and even less screen time of everything, and that would have been better. I actually thought it was a bit overlong. It's 2 hours and a few minutes long, and I actually wish that it had not been 2 hour mark, because towards the end I honestly did start to sort of check the time and wonder, how much longer is left, and that's not a good thing. And it rarely happens to me. That is normally a sign to me that I'm starting to lose interest in it. And I'm not saying I got bored. I didn't get bored, but towards the end I started thinking, how much more of this is there to go? How much longer can this go on for without something happening? And then eventually something did happen, and I was kind of like, okay, I knew it was coming, but it should have happened sooner in the narrative of it. It shouldn't have been dragged out so long. So that's my issue with it. I think it's too long, but other than that, I think it is a very, very good film.
I agree with you on the too long front, and I agree with you in the fact that the ending seems to unravel just way too quickly, the way it does unravel. But I was centralising myself more so on the performances of the 3 characters. I also agree with you in the form of Sienna Miller, who plays David Schultz's wife. And this is just a little taster. Unfortunately, it happens again with a film that she's in, which we'll review next week, an American Sniper, because I've been able to see American Sniper as well, and her character is very superfluous in that film. She is a character you think, I wish more would have actually been concentrated on her character, give her a bit more build-up. And so it's the same with this one. If it wasn't for the performances of the three central actors, the film itself, I don't think it would have done as well. I don't think it would be as strong as it is. Because the other characters who are around them, even including Vanessa Redgrave, who plays John DuPont's mother, she has very little to do, and you can't see why he's scared of her. You want to see why he's scared of her, and you don't get why he's scared of her. She has a few little bits and bobs to say to him, but it's just you're wondering, I want to know why. Why is he like the way he is?
But the thing is as well, I mean, saying that, I was going to actually mention about Whiplash, because if you haven't seen either of the films, you've seen the trailers at the cinema, the two do seem very similar. And they are similar in the fact that the drama is based around these characters, and in particular one character that's sort of pushing the others and such, and their sort of interaction with each other. And that's the thing, but the problem is, I found with it, and this is next week, obviously Whiplash comes out, and I found that of the two of these, Whiplash for me was the greater film, the better film. And the problem is, as well, with both of them saying that, though, the only reason I'm going into this is because of the fact of saying about the female characters. Whiplash has the same problem of having a female character, but not a strong one, not given much time, should have been given more to do. And unfortunately, it's showing already. We're in January, and we've got this trend now, you're saying there, of American Sniper as well. That's 3 films we've got where there are female characters, and they're basically supporting and not given a lot to do, and kind of just thrown off to the side as if they don't know what to do with them. And that's a bad thing. We've had this previous years when we come to picking our awards at the end of the year. We always struggle with the female roles, with female best actress and best supporting actress, because of the fact there are not roles out there that give the actresses the chance and give them enough in the film. So it's sad to say this is already happening with these 3 films. You know, it's and this Foxcatcher is the first one of them.
And Birdman gets it right.
Birdman does. It gets so much more to do, and so many. In fact, I think the female characters outweigh the male characters a lot, and that's a thing that's really, really good to see.
Yeah.
So on to Into the Woods. Into? Is that okay?
Into. Are you going to sing this?
No, I'm not.
I was going to
start. You can probably hear my throat starting to go a bit now as well. But Into the Woods is the Disney adaptation of the stage play by James Lapine, who also has a hand in writing this. It's directed by Rob Marshall. So if you don't know who Rob Marshall is, you may recognise he's also adapted things like Chicago in the past to the screen from the musical. Here you have a Disney adaptation of this one with starting off with, at the very start, we're introduced to the characters that you may recognise, things like Cinderella, Jack from Jack and the Beanstalk. We have then sort of the kind of the main characters we're introduced to at the start, played by Emily Blunt and James Corden, play the baker and the baker's wife. The two of them have been living in their house and things not necessarily going well for them. They're looking to have a family. They've not been able to for so long. Along comes a witch, played by Meryl Streep in full-on kind of makeup, very much like John DuPont, the character played by Steve Carell in Foxcatcher. And she's obviously looking hag and sort of effect, and she says to them, you know, your family was cursed. I can remove the curse as long as you can get me these 4 items. I need a red cloak as red as blood. I need a white cow as white as milk. I need hair as yellow as corn, and I need a slipper as gold as something else. I can't remember that. But she asked
as gold as
something
things. Else. Brilliant.
Yes, as gold as, I can't remember what it is now.
As glittering as gold. Just put it as that.
Glittering as gold. Yeah, something like that. So they basically end up going off into the woods to find these elements, along with you have the characters they come across in a sort of a weird way. Jack, a young man played by Daniel Huddleston, his first appearance on screen. You have Cinderella played by Anna Kendrick. You have Johnny Depp makes an appearance as the wolf chasing after Little Red Riding Hood, played by Lila Crawford, and it all comes to a head when sort of they've started getting the baker and the baker's wife have started getting this thing together, but they only have so long to do it before time they will miss their chance. Here's a clip.
You've got the cape.
What have you done with the cow?
She ran away.
What?
Never even reached home. I've been looking for her all night.
How could you?
Well, she might just as easily have run away from you.
Yeah, but she didn't.
Yeah, but she might have done.
But she didn't.
But she might have done.
Didn't!
Cares? Cow's gone. Get it back. Get it back.
We were just about to do that, but here, in the meantime...
Get away from me with that, you fool! I can't touch it. Remember.
No, I forgot.
By midnight tomorrow, bring me the items, or that child you wish for will never see the light of day!
Don't like that woman.
So here's the thing with Into the Woods. I'm not a massive fan of musicals. The majority of this is musical. It starts off from the very start with I think it's Anna Kendrick's character in Cinderella who's on the screen first, and just opens into song. You have also making an appearance in there, surprisingly, Chris Pine as one of the princes in the story. And you have this whole thing of the character of Rapunzel making an appearance in other ones as well. Here's the thing with it. I enjoyed it. I didn't really like it and get into it. I'm not a big fan of musicals. I struggled to get into them. I really did like Les Mis because you really felt it with that. This has supposedly some performances which are done with live recordings, so you do get the feel of that, but I didn't feel it. I really just didn't feel it. It felt hollow at parts. I think that it's been a big mistake for them to take a stage play which is not meant for kids, because there are elements, I don't know particular ones, and I know there are things that were cut out because they wouldn't work in it, because they've made it and aimed it to be a PG for kids to be able to go and see it. It's not really. It shouldn't really be. I think they should have gone with a 12 and had things that are darker in it, because there's elements that are in it that are quite dark, and there's elements that are alluded to off screen which are dark, and these will, I'm not saying traumatise kids, but these will bother younger kids who are taken to see it by the parents. It's not Frozen. They want it to be Frozen. They want it to be as good as Frozen, and it's not. And the musical numbers in it aren't that good as Frozen. I don't remember any of them. They're not memorable. None of them stood out for me. I had no problem with the vocal performance in it. There's none of them doing the Russell Crowe thing of really struggling, but you kind of want to go, okay, yeah, you gave it your all. There's none of them that makes you point out, but the problem is that none of them makes you go, oh, that's really good vocal, that's really amazing vocal. It's just very sort of average vocal through it, and I just found it looks good. There are great sets in it. Mostly it's done in sets, and the forest is all sort of built. You can tell it's built in a big studio somewhere. It's not outside. But I just found, one, that it didn't quite meld together all these different stories, and two, that there were far too many of them. And then I honestly got to one point in the film, I thought, oh, that must be it coming up near the end soon. Nope, still had about 40 minutes left, and went on and on and on, and I honestly really did not know why it needed to be as long as it was. I mean, it sounds the same thing about Foxcatcher, that it was too long. This felt twice as much too long as Foxcatcher, and felt as if a lot of the stuff in there was redundant, didn't need to be in there, could have been faster. I love Meryl Streep playing it in The Witch, and then she gets to do something and she all of a sudden becomes, this amazing looking witch and all. But other than, I mean, even her character, you didn't really care. There was none of them. Johnny Depp playing the wolf, you kind of sit there going, hang on, I actually did a double take, and hang on, that's Johnny Depp, what's he doing? And then he's in it, and then he's gone after 5 minutes, and I was like, what? Huh? And it just, as I said, alluded to too many things that I thought weren't right. I honestly don't know how it managed to get a PG. I think it shouldn't have. But as I said, I don't think it's like Taken. They shouldn't have made it and aimed for the lower rating. They should have just made it and gone for the 12 and let it be a 12. Don't go for PG when you don't need it to. Kids can be taken to see a film that's a 12 with their adults. Many of them do it. You would have done better, in my opinion, with this.
I don't think they would have done better, because I think the film itself, it struggles with more than just what its content is. The acting is all over the place. Johnny Depp's bit is just completely stupid, to be honest. It feels like he was on the set of some other film and then just come into this movie and thought, nah, I'll just play that character who I've been playing for the last few weeks in a different film, and I'm on here for 10 minutes because Rob Marshall or the directors or somebody just wants me in here and thinks, I'll just do it. And so it's just like him just stepping on for somebody else because that person has just decided to leave. Meryl Streep, I agree with you. She's the only good thing in the film, apart from maybe Emily Blunt, who tries her best with the lackluster character. They get James Caan to sing. That's not a very good idea. There is even stupid little silly jokes when Little Red Riding Hood calls him a master baker. And I was thinking, yeah, you're getting away with that in a PG. And all the way throughout the film, I was thinking something else regarding James Corden's character. And it just proves how bad the film is. The last third is completely pointless. When it finishes, you think, oh, this is it. It ending off on the typical storytelling fairy book ending, and that's the best place to leave it. But then the director thinks, nope, I've still got a few more ideas. Instead of them putting them as DVD extras, let's just throw it into the film, and so we'll have another half an hour. And it just becomes a different film. It feels like it doesn't belong to the film at all.
I've not seen the stage play. I have a suspicion that is the story that's from the stage play, so I suspect that's maybe not the director's fault. But it's a case of them trying to adapt this story in the way they've possibly done it, I think, is what doesn't work about the third act of it. The whole third act just feels redundant and unnecessary and feels tacked on. As I said, I got to a point and I thought, right, it must be about ready to finish now, and it didn't. It just went on and on.
Yeah, I'm just looking on the BBFC's website, and the film itself was passed completely uncut.
Yeah, I'm genuinely surprised by that. If it hadn't been Disney, I don't think it would have been.
Yeah, it didn't have a single cut to it, so it just... And I was having a quick chat with Booger, who's in the live chat, who's joined us this the first time for quite a while, which is welcome, Booger. And on Twitter, he turned around and said that he thought the first musical number lasted about 40 minutes. And it definitely felt like that. It went on and on and on. I was thinking, well, you just bring up the opening credit. The opening credit doesn't actually come up until the end of the film. Which it's sort of like the whole entire film is the opening credits to a film. It's just, yeah, I didn't like it. Right, that's it for the cinema section of the show. While we both get our voices back, we'll have a little break and we'll be back with the Blu-ray and DVD section.
From page to screen,
So they have 9 times out of 10 they have to send it back to you unopened or just throw it in the garbage can.
Things don't always look exactly as we envision our life to look, but sometimes it works out and turns out even better.
Gregor Fisher, his Bacon number is 2 because he was appeared with January Jones in Love Actually, and January Jones and Kevin Bacon appeared in X-Men First Class together.
I've got to say, the very Harold and Kumar 3D Christmas now, that just makes me want to rush out.
It's about the acting, about the writing. That's really what theatre is for me.
Probably had more names than Prince or whatever. Never mind, there's a joke for the oldies. It'd be like, who's Prince? Who's he? I'd just like to see Mr. Freeze hiring his bad guys going, right, okay, so you're a psycho, right, can you ice skate? Head over to iTunes, Spreaker and Stitcher and put in the search box From Page to Screen.
Hello and welcome back to this week's Monday Movie Show, to the DVD and Blu-ray home releases section, in which we'll go have a look at the DVD and Blu-ray top 10 and look at these new releases.
Yeah, drama, night moves, science fiction, thriller, adventure, drama movie from Luc Besson with Lucy, comedy horror movie with Dead Snow 2, thriller with Before I Go to Sleep, and the final film of the week is German drama Wakolda.
As well as our looks at some TV movies of the week, and then we'll give you our suggestion. I'm really going to struggle actually with what we're going to have for our best movie of the week, I think. But let's go straight into the DVD and Blu-ray top 10.
Yeah, so at number 10 is The Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, which is really, really fun film, enjoyable, is a bit long, but I didn't find as much of a problem with the running time of this being 3 hours as much as I have recently with other films that were far less shorter running time.
I did though. At number 9 is a very low new entry for Deliver Us from Evil.
Yeah, which, considering I don't like horror films, I did actually enjoy this. I didn't love it, but I enjoyed some things of it, and I really, really loved, in particular, a scene it involving with an exorcism, which is kind of the main crux of the film, I think, and the thing that makes it watchable. I don't think there's anything special in it. As I say, I don't generally watch horror films, but I don't think there's anything in this that stood out and made it exceptional from other horror films, but that scene did make it something that I kind of got into.
The loudest exorcism ever. It was just stupidly loud, that exorcism, and you're thinking, how comes nobody in the police station heard? It's ridiculous. I think I had no eardrums left after I walked out the cinema after watching that scene, because I think they turned up the sound system really loud, and our seats began to shake.
What?
Exactly. At number 8 is Mrs. Brown's Boys, the movie. What?
Yeah, exactly. What? Yeah, what? No.
Made our worst movie list.
That's the thing. It's probably been the film that goes straight up to number 1 quick and then go dumping out really quick, because it's already. Hopefully next week it will be gone.
Dumping is an optimal word in that thing.
Yeah.
At number 7 is Guardians of the Galaxy.
Fantastic. One of Marvel's best films, if not, according to other people, the best one. I just said that so you'd shut up.
We are Groot. At number 6 is Dawn of the Planet of the Apes,
which is a great sequel. I think in ways better than the first one, and a great sort of a great sort of showreel of what can be done now with stop motion to make characters that aren't just CG. They're not just there to go, oh look, that's special effects, it looks amazing. They're there to give you something different, and you can actually interact with it emotionally. It's really well done.
Yeah, number 5, X-Men Days of Future Past,
which has been one of the better things to come out of the X-Men franchise for quite a while, because it corrects a lot of the horrible errors they've done in the past with the series, and has kind of revived it and brought it back so that there can be future films that won't be terrible. And it's incredible how much this is. I put it on the other day and ended up watching the whole thing, and I wasn't meaning to. I just wanted to check something and got into it again and just watched the whole thing again.
At number 4 is Davina's 7-minute fit.
Yeah, and because it's Davina McCall, I won't swear.
Yeah, I think a lot of people should. Number 3 is Frozen. God!
Yeah, still hanging around, but finally starting to drop down again, but I've got a suspicion it's probably going to go back up now. Well, yeah, it's just that we can't get rid of this film.
Yeah, there is a film coming out soon which might try to challenge Frozen, but when we review it, I don't think it will. That's just a little tease to it. At number 2, I don't know how the hell it managed to get this high, and you went for Left Behind.
Yeah, I absolutely have no idea either, because it's honest to God a terrible film. It's awful. It's Nicolas Cage doing the worst Nicolas Cage type of film that he does. It's based on the book, which is about the Rapture, and it's just awful. There's moments in it where you would be better just sitting there with a you know, on these horn things that you press, and every time Nicolas Cage says something, you'd just be better honking that to make noise instead of letting him talk.
The thing is, though, because I was supposed to review this last week, is that he's the best thing about the film as well. And
yeah,
that tells you what the quality of the movie is.
You should hear. You need to listen to last week's show, because Nathan reviewed it. He'd actually seen it because he does work in a video shop, and I'd seen it as well. But I let him review it, and he really went to it as well, because he really did not like it as well. It's a terrible film, and that's not really doing it justice. It's just how terribly bad it is, and it's from a guy who directed Bond films ages ago, and is a second unit director on a lot of the Bond films, and a second unit director on a lot of action films. He's an okay action director. Just don't let him direct a film himself. Vic Armstrong, by the way, it is.
Yeah, the worst thing is also it's a remake of a 2000 film, which that film itself was badly slated. So they remake a movie that was horrendously slated, and this one is just as bad. Because I honestly felt sorry for myself, because the fact that I couldn't see it, how bad the movie was, because I watched it to review, and then I was just too ill to actually come on the show to review it, and I was thinking to myself, I want that time back. Even if I'm ill for that 90 minutes, I want it back. I'd rather be like on my deathbed than see the film again. It's that bad.
It is that bad. It's awful.
And at number 1, Charlotte's 3-minute belly blitz.
I have no idea what this is, but I'm guessing from that title and the fact that we have a Davina McCall fitness video in there, that this is another fitness DVD thing.
I think
it's a really weak at the cinema, at the DVD and Blu-ray. People have just been buying crap.
I think it's one of those reality TV ones, like The Only Way is Essex, or it's one of the characters from there. I think it is.
I suspect that the top 10 is probably made up of films that are just there because they were in the top 10 last week. They've now been shifted down a couple, and that's why Left Behind got up so high, because it's been that and the fitness DVDs have been the only things people have been buying this week.
Or
not many of them.
Or places like HMV or Tesco's or whatever has had a sale on buy Frozen, get one of these other DVDs for free. That's why Frozen's that high, and the other ones are selling out or something. I don't know.
Anyway, let's go on to the first review.
Yeah, Night Moves. It's directed by Kelly Reichardt, and it centers around two characters in the form of Josh and Dina, played by Jesse Eisenberg and Dakota Fanning, and they're environmentalists. They're young environmentalists, and they want to pull off their biggest heist they possibly can to show people that the fact that all the resources that they're using on Earth, they're woefully using them. They're using them really badly. So they team up with a character who's played by Peter Sarsgaard to try and blow up a hydroelectric dam. However, throughout the film itself, their relationship, their friendship becomes much more fractured when things start to become apparent and between their friendships. Here's a clip.
How much do you have?
£1,000, give or take.
And how much do we need?
£500 would be nice.
£500.
Look, we can go with what we have. I mean, it's probably all right. God knows that dam wants to come down. There's a serious tonnage of water just pushing up against her walls. Everything in the world is telling her to give up and let go. But still, I mean, we should just help her all we can. Right?
So what are you saying that we do?
Let's go to the feed store in the morning. So?
They're not going to sell us that much.
There's just one way to find out.
No, anything over 10 pounds sends up major red flags for these guys.
That's not necessarily true.
It is.
We should have known about this earlier.
Yeah. 1 second, let me just... Okay, now, if that's what we gotta do.
Yeah. All right, we'll go out in the morning. And we'll come back here and stuff the turkey.
Now, the thing with Night Moves is it's one of those films where it's very well acted by Jesse Eisenberg, Dakota Fanning and Peter Sarsgaard. Each one of them brings life to the characters that they're given. They have to be very brooding characters, and throughout the film I don't even think any of them cracks a smile. And it is meant to be a movie where you try to get to know the characters, and you do get to know the characters itself. It's just that's about it. It just has no beating heart to it. It has nothing to latch on to. A movie can be carried by brilliant acting. It needs also something else to back it up with. It needs an interesting story. It needs an interesting premise. It needs a proper flow to it. It doesn't need to drag. It doesn't need to, like the problem we've been having with some of the films, feel like it's overly long. Like it could do with a good 20, 25 minutes chopped out from it, because it would have been a much more coherent, more better structured story, and that's unfortunately what the film's like. So apart from the acting itself, the movie I would say a miss. But if you want to watch a film where you're seeing that Jesse Eisenberg, he's a really good actor. Some of the roles that he chooses are a bit questionable at times, but he can show that he is a really good actor with very few facial expressions. I know some actors, I'm not going to mention who, carries that with aplomb, but they star in really bad films and they're bad actors. Dakota Fanning has also proven that she's a really good actress as well, and we already know how well Peter Sarsgaard can carry a character. It just needed more. It needed something else better to back it up with.
I haven't seen it, but I did want to see it. And I remember when you said to me about it, I said, "Oh, Night Moves, I don't recognise it." And then you obviously said about it, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I've seen the trailer." I'm thinking, did this get a cinema release? Because I'm sure I saw the trailer for it, but I don't remember seeing it at the cinema ever sort of getting a release.
Yeah, it got a theatrical release for it because I reviewed it in the cinema section of the show when I think it was middle to late last year. So, but it didn't. Yeah, it didn't get a very big release. Yeah, it didn't. But I quite liked it then. I rewatched it again just to see if my thoughts of the film was the same. And it changed slightly because I did find that it was a much more of a weaker film. That there wasn't any interest behind the film, behind why their characters are so fractured.
it looked very much similar, as if this could have been kind of like a follow-on to The East.
Yeah, I would probably say so. It looks like that kind of film, but it's okay. Acting wise, it's very good. Story wise, it's average.
Okay, on to Lucy, which is the Luc Besson written and directed movie, which stars Scarlett Johansson as Lucy. The movie has her starting off with she is sort of hanging around with people, including a sort of boyfriend who, at the start of the movie, sort of sets her up in a situation where he handcuffs a briefcase to her and throws her into a building in a situation where she's essentially making a drug deal delivery. She finds herself then extremely in over her head in amongst this group in I think it was Tokyo, where she's there, and amongst all these people that are then basically given money and airplane tickets, and wake up to find that they have had drugs surgically implanted inside them so they can smuggle them across the border to somewhere else. She, however, ends up getting beaten at one point by people that are there, which in turn results in one of these pouches of the drugs leaking inside her body. What isn't explained to her or doesn't realise is the fact that these are a special experimental drug which starts to have an effect of the expanding the ability of a brain and start the using up more than the average 10% of the brain that people use, eventually possibly meaning that she can up to a certain point become able to use a full 100% of her brain. Enter in the character played by Morgan Freeman, who is a scientist who sort of speculates on something like this happening, the ability of what would happen if we did use more than our 10% of our brains, and she seeks him out to sort of find his help because she realises that this is happening to her, but not necessarily everything that will happen to her is going to be a good thing. Here's a clip.
Yes?
Professor Norman, my name's Lucy. I just read all your research on the human brain. We need to meet.
All of my research? Well, I'm very flattered, young lady, but I find that hard to believe.
I read your theory on the use of the brain's capacity. It's a little rudimentary, but you're on the right track.
Thank you.
I absorbed a large quantity of synthetic CPH4 that will allow me to use 100% of my cerebral capacity. Right now I'm at 28%. And what she wrote is true. Once the brain reaches 20%, it opens up.
You can control your own metabolism?
Yes. Also, I can control magnetic and electric waves, television, telephone, radio.
That's amazing.
So, here's the thing with Lucy. It is among the better things that Luc Besson has done recently, if you take into account that he was involved in things like Taken 3 and the Taken series. And the thing is, though, it kind of it's not a long film. It is only just over an hour and a half, I think it was, or just about an hour and a half long. And the thing is, it kind of feels like it needs more in there, but it doesn't need to be longer, if that makes sense. It has this thing of going on that it starts to try and sort of adding action sequences which don't necessarily quite fit into it and don't quite work, and it does things where it gets to a point where it kind of stops and then all of a sudden does something else and it boosts up things and goes in a different direction, and it feels as though it doesn't quite know where to go with things, even though obviously when you've seen it you realise there is a plan that it had to go at the end. But the problem is that it doesn't seem to know, first of all, how to get there, and second of all, what to do once it gets there in the end. And that is a big problem with it. It is a big visual thing that is worth seeing. It's enjoyable, but it's not as good as it could have been. It's not anywhere near as fun as it could have been, and it's not anywhere near as intelligent as it wants to be. It kind of gets there and goes, well, this is it. What do you think? It doesn't go, well, it could have been this, could have been, it can mean this, it could do this. It kind of gets there and just goes, well, that's the end. Plop.
Lovely. That's the end. Plop.
Tell me I'm wrong.
No, I agree with you on that instance. That's the end. Plop. That's a very toilet reference, that, isn't it? That's the end. I'm finished. Flush.
Well, it's like it just goes and here it is and just bang on the table. That's it. It doesn't really mess around at the end. It just goes, that's it, end credits.
Yeah, Booger in the live chat, do you agree with that? Do you think that the ending is that's the end plop? Because he saw it in IMAX in London and he loved the film, so we'll see.
It does end really sharply, he says.
Yeah, so I'm guessing he agrees with that's the end plot.
That's how I felt like putting it with our theme this evening.
True. If you look past, if you listen to the rest of the show, it's very bodily related kind of thing. So, do you think I should move on? Get away from that's the end plot thing.
You cover Lucy quickly. Just say what you think as well. I think because you have something to say on it as well.
Yeah, because I've seen it as well. Because you reviewed it in the cinema section, but because the way the DVDs have come out this week, I should have been the one to review it, but that wasn't the case. And in Lucy I agree with you in the fact that it is Luc Besson's one of his better films as of late. I still think by far his best film is The Fifth Element, and I don't think he would top that.
I think his best sci-fi is The Fifth Element. His best film is Leon.
Well, yeah, maybe. But with Lucy, it's Scarlett Johansson because I listened to the part where you did the news last week and said that she's got the role in Ghost in the Shell. And I did point out in the chat that you were calling it anime, and it's not, it's manga. It's manga. Just please say the word manga. I was screaming at but I could scream. It's manga. It's actually by the company Manga, and so it's called manga, not anime.
Is manga not the type, not the name though?
No,
and anime is the type. I don't know.
Manga's the company which makes them, and it's a trademark name, and they make animated films. So under the guise with Ghost in the Shell, it's known as manga. Anime is Japanese animation, which is outside of the realms of manga. So Ghost in the Shell is made by the company Manga, and Manga makes manga.
That's like saying Disney and cartoon. You know, it's still both apply.
In that case, it is actually manga, but this has got nothing to do with Ghost in the Shell. It is very Ghost in the Shell-esque at times, Lucy. So it's sort of like her preparing herself for the role of Ghost in the Shell, and it is entertaining, but it just, like you said, the ending is just very abrupt.
Yeah.
It's abrupt. I'm going with abrupt rather than end plot thing. Right?
Well, I was trying to use a synonym. A synonym, even.
Yeah, exactly. One of them. Dead Note 2. It's a sequel. Duh, of course. It's directed by Tommy Wakolda, who worked on the first film. He went off and did an American film in the guise of Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunter, which I hated. You didn't mind it, but I absolutely hated it. And he's gone back to do a sequel to the movie that got him the directing job with Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunter. And in this one, it starts exactly where the first film left off. The lead character in the form of Martin, after he's killed his girlfriend with an axe to the stomach, he's distraught. He's managed to get away from the undead German army. However, he learns that one of their arms has been grafted to him and he's becoming a psychopath. And so he gets locked into a hospital. He manages to escape, and he learns also that the German army is recruiting people by eating them and then bringing them back from the dead to turn them into zombies so they can have this huge, massive zombie army. And so he needs to amass an army of his own. He gets the help of these really big, huge, massive zombie nerds who supposedly are zombie slayers from America who know what they're doing. They come over to Germany to try and help him. And they realise that the zombie arm that's attached to him has powers, and so he's able to control the dead as well. And so he goes for the Russian undead army. So it's the German Nazis against the Russians again. That's the film. And as you can tell, it's a serious movie. No, it's actually a comedy. It's a comedy horror film, and it'll appease people who love these over-the-top, really cheesy zombie films. So the Nights of the Living Dead movies. It's funny at times. The humour is quite sarcastic, but it is quite funny when you see like a zombie rip off somebody's arm and then beat him to it, and you just get the shock tactic, but you're giggling rather than being in disgust. It's stupidly gory. There is a brilliant scene with a Nazi zombie who's riding around in a tank, and he's actually able to control a tank and shoot people as well. And there is the zombie which, for some reason, they use as something to get a car out of a ditch, or they use him as just like put him in the way of something so they can stop him. And he just constantly ran over by this tank. And by the time he's finished, he's flat on one side and he's still walking, and he's trying to actually speak to people. And there's just blood oozing all over the place. And so it's a silly zombie movie, and Tommy Wakolda he handles it really well. The first one is slightly more serious than the sequel, but he just has a lot of fun, and he throws a bucket load of gore at the screen. And I enjoyed it. Of course I would. It's my kind of film.
Is it any better or worse than the first one? It's a sequel.
It's better.
Better.
Cat in the live chat says, is it like the zombie film Idle Hands? Not so much, because Idle Hands is sort of like a frat house zombie film. I like Idle Hands. I think Idle Hands is a really sort of like funny, underrated horror comedy film. It's not like that. Just think of it like Night of the Living Dead, where, see, at the end of Night of the Living Dead, you've got a zombie which goes brains. They're just about to shoot him and it goes, okay, no more brains. Just think of it as that kind of humour, and zombies getting run over by tanks and things like that. It's silly, gory, but fun. And it's in German, English and Dutch. So it uses multitude of subtitles.
Interesting. Okay, then my last film of the evening is Before I Go to Sleep. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, my throat's tickling me now as well. It is directed by Rowan Joff, or I'm not sure if it's Rowan Joff or Joffe, but it's he's also had a hand in the screenplay. It's based on a novel by S.J. Watson. It stars Nicole Kidman as Christine, who, as we're introduced to her at the start of the film, she wakes up, she has no memory of events for the last so many years back to her 20s, where at some point there was an incident happened, but she does not remember that. As a result of the incident, she has no longer able to create short-term memories. Wakes up finding herself next to her husband, played by Colin Firth, while also sort of finding clues and things from a phone call that she receives later in the day from a doctor played by Mark Strong. She is sort of curious to what's going on, but also trying to figure out and try and decide whether or not she can trust everything, all her notes and things that leading up to the present day, as to whether or not they're all accurate or not. Here's a clip.
You had an accident. It was a bad accident. You had head injuries. And you have problems remembering things.
What things? What?
Everything. You store up information for a day. When you wake up in the morning, it's all gone. You're back to your early 20s. You'll be okay. Just trust me.
I'm scared.
I know. It's all right. I love you. I love you, Kristen.
So here's the thing with this. I didn't read the book, I still haven't read the book, I don't know anything about the book really, but obviously it's based on that. If you know the book, there are twists and things and surprises and things that you will know are coming. I didn't know them, and I didn't actually see them coming. I was genuinely surprised, and I really, really enjoyed this. It's not a long film. It is only an hour and a half long, so it's not a film that stays around too long. And Nicole Kidman is really good in the film. She genuinely is. You do believe the performance of someone who doesn't remember things, is trying to figure out the puzzle of what happened, but then is stuck when things reset the next morning and she doesn't remember any of it. You have as well Mark Strong's character is probably the one who is sort of given the least time and the one that's not taking advantage of being used a lot. He could have been in it a bit more, but he's fine as a doctor who may or may not have his own motives as to what he's doing. And then you have Colin Firth there as well, who is brilliant as ever, Colin Firth, and brilliantly put in this film. And I honestly thought that it was going a completely different direction than it did. I'm glad it didn't, and I was really, really into it and really enjoyed it. And I think it's one of the good thrillers that you've seen come around, which keeps you on the edge of your toes, or keeps you on your toes. That's not the right thing. Keeps you on your toes. I can't think.
Keeps you on the edge of your seat and all that stuff.
Edge of your seat and keeps you on your toes.
Yeah.
Tiptoes. Yeah, I don't know.
I agree with you on the fact that Nicole Kidman's really good in it, because she did this film after Grace of Monaco, and I included Grace of Monaco in my top 10 worst films of last year, because it was really, really bad. And
also, sorry to interrupt, but if I just also say, she did, before that as well, The Railway Man with Colin Firth, and she was nothing bad in that film, but she just didn't have much of a part in that film, and it was the two of them together worked well together. Completely different dynamic than there is in this film, but this is a much better appraisal of her acting performance than that was.
Yeah, it's a much more tighter film. It feels like it's setting out to do what it needs to do, and it actually manages to succeed on that front. It never tries to oversteer its welcome. There's problems with it. I think it's, again, with the length of films, I think it's slightly over too long, and I didn't like the way it resolved itself in the end, but it's still very well acted by the three main leads in the film.
Yeah, it's and I think very cleverly done in a way that because it kind of makes me it reminds me of things like Gone Girl, but in a way I think this is more successful than Gone Girl because I thought Gone Girl revealed things too early. I think this reveals things at just the right point to keep you interested and stop things from getting a bit sort of predictable.
A final film of this week, Wakolda. It's also known as The German Doctor. It's directed by Lucia Puenzo, and it stars Alex Bendenmull and Natalia Arroyo, who plays Eva in the film. And it centres around a doctor of Mengele, who's actually played by Brendan Mull. And he befriends his family, who takes him in, helps him out a little bit. But they find out during the course of the film what exactly he is, what Brendan Mull was. He was somebody who was a German doctor in concentration camps during the war, and they also discover what he's actually doing there, what involvement has he got with these stupid little dolls that he's creating, or why has he shown a real interest in their daughter, in this family's young daughter, and the fact that he wants to tell her, this is how you should grow up. She's a bit stunted in her growth for her age. She's more like an 8-year-old, not the 12-year-old that she is, and she could do with growing up. And they discover books about him trying to stitch people together or trying to manipulate people, and they discover his past, and they also find out that he is getting hunted down by people who are trying to discover these Nazi doctors. The thing with the film, though, is it plays itself out like a dark thriller, and you're meant to also feel the undercurrent of horror in the movie. So you're meant to feel like he did despicable things in the past, and he's still continuing his research, what he originally did. And you don't feel that, though, until you discover the books that he's creating during his stay with his family. Never during the movie itself do you feel uneasy with his character, because he shows none of that. He shows none of the malevolence that he originally did, and it faults the film in that way, because you're trying to feel disgusted by this character. You're trying to feel uneasy, unnervingness, but you don't feel that, and it just haunts the film really badly. The film itself just gets bogged down in just normalness. It's a very normal, very stoic, very plodding movie. It doesn't have any much of a direction in the film itself, and with a movie like The Way It Should Be, it's just, it fails in what it tries to attempt to do.
Well, that's it for this week's show. Before we go on to our movie of the week and do some shout-outs, we'll go through our TV movies of the week. So what movies have you got there?
I've only got one. I struggled in trying to find anything this week because there's not very much on, to be honest.
Is it on Wednesday by any chance?
No.
No, okay.
I'll let you go first.
No, you go ahead. So I've actually got a couple.
The film that I've chose is on the early hours of next Sunday morning, so the 18th of January, or Saturday night as you would normally put it, on Film 4, so it's on at midnight. It's Dog Pound. It's a movie we've never talked about on this show. It's a brutal, brutal film. It's very much like Starred Up, very much like there's a few films which is like it's centers around a group of 3 kids who get sent to this prison, this maximum security prison, for a crime that they committed and the atrocities that happen in the prison. So it's another one of those prison dramas, very much like Sleepers. I was trying to think of that film there. It's very much like the prison element of the film Sleepers. So it's very hard to watch, but it's very well acted and very brutal.
Okay, a couple of movies I've got. First off, on Wednesday the 14th at 9 o'clock on Film 4 is The Place Beyond the Pines, which is a kind of an anthology series that are all connected with some characters. Great performances from Ryan Gosling in there, Bradley Cooper, and it's a really good, a bit overly long I think, but a very, very good drama.
Very weak middle section.
It is a bit of a weak middle section, but I think that it's a good, enjoyable film altogether. The other film I've got is Red State, which is on the Thursday, the 15th at 11:45 p.m., which is Kevin Smith's first film that was not his typical thing, and that it was instead of drama and sort of horror elements, and around a kind of Waco situation with a cult that's there, and I was surprised how much I enjoyed that when I saw it. I was expecting it to be something that I wouldn't like at all, and was surprised.
It has a few interesting shootouts in that film.
There is
very violent shootouts,
and some great scenes with John Goodman. That just make you laugh. They make you laugh. That's it for this week. What about movie of the week? I'll let you go first because I am going to have a hell of a choice trying to decide, really.
Foxcatcher.
I think it's going to have to be Foxcatcher for me as well, but I mean on DVD as well, say before I go to sleep as well, because that
Dead Snow 2.
Yeah, Dead Snow 2, really. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, thank you for listening to us live. Thanks to the guys in the chat. We've had a few of you there this evening. It's nice to have you in there. Appreciated for you to turn up and join us. If you're listening to us on the podcast, you can always check out our website, mondaymovieshow.co.uk, which will have details on there at some point of when next week's show is. It possibly won't be back on the Monday. We'll have to sort that out, but we'll let you know on there as soon as we can. There's also our Facebook page. You can find us on facebook.com/Monday Movie Show, and you can find us on Twitter at Monday Movie Show. Stuart can also be found there at Cryptic Tadpole, and I can be found there at AHDVD. Also, please have a look at some of our friends' sites, followingthenerd.com, FromPageToScreen.com, and also the Seren Foundation charity, which is serenfoundation.org.uk. So that's it for this week's show. We'll be back next week, as I say, maybe Sunday, maybe Monday. We'll decide that out and let you know on mondaymovieshow.co.uk. Until then, I'm going to leave you with a clip of a film coming out next week, which is, and I've said this already, we're only in January. I'm pretty sure this film is probably going to be in my top 10 films of the year come end of 2015, and it is the extremely powerful drama Whiplash. So we'll leave you with a clip for that. Until next week, bye-bye.
Bye.
5, 6, 7. Not quite my tempo. It's all good. No worries. Here we go. 5, 6, 7. You're rushing. Here we go. Ready? Okay. 5, 6, and. Dragging just a hair. Wait for my cue. 5, 6, 7. Rushing. 5, 6, and. Dragging. 5, 6, and. Why do you suppose I just hurled a chair at your head, Neiman?
I don't know.
Sure you do.
The tempo?
Were you rushing or were you dragging?
I don't know.
Start counting.
5, 6, 7.
In 4, damn it! Look at me!
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Now, was I rushing or was I dragging?
I don't know.
Count again.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Rushing or dragging?
Rushing.
So you do know the difference.